You know how these things go. A series runs its course, runs out of gas, and then the writers drag it back to a set point and go, but what if we did this instead? And the lazy version of that, the one done because someone ran out of ideas, that one is a betrayal. Every single time. If you can't keep your story going without torching your own lore, then don't. And that's the thing. That what if isn't some isolated fluke. It's a symptom of the exact same disease that kills every long-running series that it's done in. We've all got our theories about what that is that causes it. Is it fatigue? The story never being allowed to actually end? Trend chasing? Nostalgia bait for an audience that's already moved on? And look, every one of those is a real problem, but they all trace back to the same two things: a lack of motivation and a lack of creativity. Now, before you start typing, no, I'm not talking about games with multiple endings. That's built in, that's fine. Player choice is not the problem here. I'm talking about the reset. The what ifs that exist for one reason. Somebody ran out of good ideas. Their well of inspiration has run dry. And to be fair, this isn't all bad. Some shows have done it right, and some games were built around it from day one. So today I'm going to show you the ones that butchered it, the ones that nailed it, and because, well, I'm not a monster, guys, I'm going to try to show you what they should have done instead. If this is your thing, buckle up. If not, it's a bit weird you clicked on a video that was packaged like this, but I'm glad you're here anyway. So let's actually name what we're dealing with, because what if is doing a lot of heavy lifting and it's not all bad. There's two completely different animals wearing the same skin suit. That's the what ifs that are built in. The ones where time travel or alternate timelines is the actual premise of the show. And then there's the what ifs that are a crutch. The ones where a series that was never about any of that suddenly goes, hey, remember this point back here? Yeah, well, what if we did something different there? And here's how you tell them apart. The built-in what ifs, they have rules. There's a cost. Doing the thing matters. The crutch what ifs, well, they have no costs or rules or stakes. It's just a do-over button. And that's the whole ball game, the whole kit and caboodle, because a story without consequences isn't a story, it's just something nice to look at. And I want you to watch several things as we go through these examples. Almost every single franchise that uses the crutch version, they all follow the exact same arc. It starts fine, sometimes it starts great, and then at some specific identifiable moment, the ideas run out, the motivation dies, and the what ifs that used to spice up your meal become the entire thing. Which brings me to where all of this garbage started. And I want to give credit where credit's due, because we all owe this trope at a no, we don't. We owe it a funeral. And I don't care how you look at this. Dallas was a show that came out in 1986. An entire season of television, a full season, like 30 fucking episodes. And then the reveal, it was all a dream. They killed a character off, the audience hated it, the ratings tanked, so the writers went, nope. None of that happened, let's rewind. And the worst part was that it kind of worked. The ratings came back, which taught the entire industry the single most poisonous lesson a writer can learn. If the audience rejects your story, you don't have to fix it. You can just unwrite it. And that, right there, is the disease in its purest form. It's not time travel, it's not alternate universes. It's a writer looking at their own story and going, the audience didn't like where this went, and deciding that the answer is to pretend it never happened instead of making something better. To just make it all a dream. And here's the part that actually proves my point, because the three biggest examples I'm about to throw at you, they all started fine and became a bit of a tragedy by the end. Take one of my favorite shows, something I've gotten claymantics into recently, in Supernatural. Season 4, Dean gets sent back to fix things with Azazel, the yellow-eyed demon, and the show does this time is kind of fixed angle, and it worked because the show put effort into making it interesting instead of just easy. Then later, during Castiel's war with Raphael, there's this angel, Balthazar, who just straight up sinks the Titanic, and look, that's objectively insane, but it was done in a very interesting way, and it continued to follow the rules that the angels had set out previously with time travel, so you roll with it. And then you hit the apocalypse world stuff, alternate worlds, different Sam and Deans, and at some point you're sitting there going, wait, hold on, who are we even what does any of this have to do with the two brothers in a car? All right? And that's the flip. That's the moment Supernatural went from What If as a season arc to What If as Spackle to fill a season that's already run out of story. And that was kind of the problem. Then let's move on. The same thing happens with Doctor Who. And here's the thing. Doctor Who gets a pass on basically all of this because time travel is literally the premise. Regeneration is built in. The show is allowed to reset. That's its whole gimmick. So for decades, the what ifs don't feel like a cheap shot because, well, they weren't. That was the premise of the show. Until the Doctor just has more lives because the show needed to keep running. And that's the exact moment the what if stopped being the premise and became the product. The rules that made the show work got rewritten. Not because the story demanded it, but because the runtime did. Because the show must go on. And then there's Final Fantasy VII. The original is one of the best games ever made. One game, 3 discs, a complete self-contained story. And then the remake comes along. And I want to be clear, I was having fun with the first one. Genuinely. But the longer I went, the more the what ifs took over. And it stopped being, here's the game you love, and became, here's what could have happened instead. And I'll be honest with you guys, I platinumed the first game, but I have refused to even touch the second one. And we need to talk about what they actually did here, because this is kind of the premise of my whole video in just one gaming company decision. Final Fantasy VII was one game on 3 discs, and that was it. A single, complete story sold once. The remake is one game split into 3 separate games, all sold separately, a story that was already finished, stretched into 3 different products, and the only thing that could justify stretching it was a "but what if" scenario. Fuck you! Give me my games back how they were. That's not a creative decision, that's a business decision, and it's deciding to masquerade as if it has a new fancy story. The grandeur, the wonder, the amazingness of the first game. The creativity did not run out in this franchise. They just decided to what if it to you, and then they got sold back to you in installments. Okay, anyway. So, those 3, Supernatural, Doctor Who, Final Fantasy VII, they're the tragic arc. Good until they weren't. But there's another category, and honestly, these are the ones that just make me tired. The Flash, across most of his iterations, his solution to literally every problem at the end is to just turn back time. It kind of became a meme, and it's not even a what if anymore, it's a what if again, and almost every single moment after each reset is just a new what if scenario stacked on top of the last one, until nothing that happens matters because you know it's all going to get rewound in the future anyway. And here's why The Flash is the perfect example of a bad version. There's no real cost. Oh sure, the show waves at consequences. Barry might get chased by a time phantom or the dark speed force shows up to yell at him. But it's more of a villain of the week thing. It's not real danger. It's a speed bump. Barry runs, time rewinds. The problems are all solved and whatever spooky thing showed up is gone by the end of the episode. And compare that to any good time travel story and you'll see the difference instantly. A good reset hurts and it costs something. The Flash's resets cost pretty much nothing, which means it's worth nothing. And last, but certainly not least, I know a lot of you guys who've been with the channel a while are going to get tired of this one, but World of Warcraft, guys, Warlords of Draenei, the expansion that said, what if Gul'dan didn't die, and what if Grommash Hellscream didn't sacrifice himself to help defeat Manaroth? And this one's personal because this is the one that made me walk away from WoW forever. And not mad about it, it wasn't a rage quit, I was just done, because when a story I'd invested in for years, that I had been playing since Warcraft 2, looks me in the eye and says, hey, you guys, you remember that sacrifice? That thing that really mattered? And never mind. That's not a twist. That's the writers telling me the time I spent caring was wasted. And you can't untell me that. Okay, Alden, but that's just bad writing. Isn't every retcon bad? And no, see, that's the thing. Retcons can be great. A good retcon makes an old story better in hindsight. Take BioShock, Would You Kindly? You spend the entire game following his voice telling you what to do, thinking you're a hero, and then you find out the whole thing was a leash. The villain wasn't some boss at the end, it was a guy pulling your strings the entire time, and by proxy, you were the tool. And that reveal didn't erase anything that came before, it made every single thing you'd already done mean more. Because now you understand why you did it. A good retcon adds. I mean, think of your favorite anime if they've gone on for more than 2 or 3 seasons and they've retconned stuff in the past, and sometimes it really messes it up, but sometimes it makes things a hell of a lot better. The lazy what ifs make old story meaningless. One style builds up, the other erases. So let's answer some of the things that I kind of promised at the beginning of the video. What should they have done instead? It's actually not complicated. It's the same 2 things every good story has always needed. 1, they could have just let it end. The what if crutch only exists because the series is too afraid to stop, and we've seen it done right. Breaking Bad ended 5 seasons and then it was done. There was no reboot, there was a spinoff, but there was no what if Walter lived, no alternate universe where he never got cancer. It just ended. And it's remembered as one of the greatest shows ever made because of it. Supernatural didn't need the apocalypse world, it needed a finale it was proud of. WoW didn't need to unkill Gul'dan, it needed a new villain instead of recycling an old one. And there were plenty still alive that they could have brought into the world. The bravest thing a long-running series can do is say, the story's over, and, well, actually mean it. Or 2, if you're gonna do it, if you're gonna do a what if, make it cost something. The what if that works is the one with rules and consequences. The built-in version, not the crutch. If your reset doesn't hurt, it doesn't count. That's why the good Doctor Who what-ifs worked for decades, and the more lives one felt kinda cheap. One had stakes, the other one was just a lease extension. The problem is every series needs to eventually die. And the problem is most of the time places don't know how to do it, so they kind of fizzle out or disappoint. And everyone wants a clean villain. The studio got greedy. It was making too much money to stop. The fans just wouldn't let it end. And those all sound right, and they're even kind of comforting because it lets you blame something outside of the story. But they're all just the excuse you tell yourself, so you don't have to say the real thing. The real thing is this: somebody ran out of motivation, somebody ran out of creativity, and instead of doing the hard thing and writing a better story, or the brave thing and just ending it, they hit rewind. And that's why the what ifs is where your favorite series go to die. If there's a what if reset that's been living rent-free in your head, good or bad, yell at me in the comments. I'm genuinely curious which one you think is the worst offender. And hey, While you're down there, do me a favor, hit that like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss the next video I post. If you want to actually hang and talk about this stuff, the Discord's in the description. Come argue with me about which what ifs are actually good. And one more thing, and this one's for the people who've been asking what I'm working on outside of the channel. Starting next month, I'm going to start recording my book, and that's going to be members only. So if you want in on that, hit the join button, become a member now, because that's where my book is going to live for a while. And like always, guys, be good to each other. We'll see you in the next video. Peace.